IntellivisionDude here, and this is another episode of I Talk About Records. IntellivisionDude talks about records. And the disclaimer that I put at the beginning is that I don't have the biggest collection. I don't have the biggest knowledge of music in the world. But hey, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to talk about a CD as well today. Since I got this in the mail just today, this is Gravediggaz, 6 Feet Deep. I originally had this on cassette back in the day, which I thought I still owned, and I went to look for it, but I couldn't find it. It could be somewhere hidden in this house somewhere. But anyway, this was one of the few albums that I splurged and experimented on, because back in the day, that was costly to take a chance on something without knowing anything about it. Especially when everything was still full price. CDs were at least, what, 10 to 20 bucks a piece, I think, back in the day. Probably tapes were probably close to 10 bucks themselves, I bet you. I don't remember any more prices. But I took a chance on this right here. Because I was like, oh, it looks like it's horror related. And it's rap. And this was good. This was really, really good. It's like if you could imagine taking the best horror movie and transforming it into rap music and putting it on a CD, you would get this right here. So many great songs on here. I don't know what are my favorite songs, but Detective Trip might be one of my all-time favorites. Diary of a Madman's awesome. So many great ones. I don't even know where to start. The UK version has an extra track. Has a song called Pass the Shovel, which mine does not have. But I heard the song and it was okay, but since I was not used to hearing the song, it's like it kind of felt out of place. So I listened to it on YouTube. So I'm okay with it not being on here. Also, back in the day, I bought the cassette single for Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide, which is on the album, because it had a B-side. It had Freak the Sorceress. I don't remember this song too well. I need to listen to it again. But it's been so many years. I thought I'd show that off. Let's get to the records here. Today we got, start off with Spooky Tooth, The Mirror. What is Spooky Tooth? They are an experimental rock band. It's hard to explain this band, really hard to explain them. So I probably shouldn't even try to explain them. But what I did here is another album I was going to show off on a later date ended up being a failure, and everybody hated it. Because of that failure album, their career went down the tubes. Well, that's what Wikipedia says. I don't know if you can believe that or not. But this was their last studio album, I believe. Pretty sure it was the last studio album, and it was not a hit at all. And it's probably the best. Well, I've only got 2 of their albums, so I can't really judge just yet. But this is one hell of an album. If you do anything at all, listen to the song "Hell or High Water." Oh my God, this is a monster song, and it's unbelievable how good it is. And I don't know why the song wasn't a hit or anything. But you need to hear Hell or High Water. If you do anything at all, do that. Oh, and this is cool. I like the cool cover on this one. That is pretty cool how they do it like that. Now, for the first time, I'm actually going to talk about a record, instead of being a good album, a mediocre album. I won't say bad this time, but because I usually only talk about the good stuff, but I don't always talk about the bad stuff. Now, I'm a Elvis fan, huge Elvis fan, so it's hard for me to talk bad about any of his albums. But this is definitely not his best concert. This concert took place probably 2 months before he died. So he was in terrible shape, terrible health. It sounded like he was drugged up, too. It kind of sounded like he was drugged up a little bit, probably on some medications and things. He was slurring his words a lot, so definitely not the best Elvis performance. But then again, some of the songs on here he performed really good. So you wouldn't even know that he was not his best. Some of the songs he did really well. So I think the pictures are misleading because that right there looks like when he was in shape. I only have 2 live Elvis records, but I have a nice CD collection called I think it's called Live in Las Vegas. Is it a 4-disc set? 4-disc, 5-disc, 4-disc? It was 4-disc set. Now that's a good set. But I don't have too much on vinyl yet. So, but there is a real nice thing on here. A special message from Elvis's father, Vernon, where he talks about Elvis for a minute after his passing. So it's actually worth it for that. And like I said, not all the performances are as bad. I think some people do judge this record a little bit more harshly than they should, because it's not his best, but it's still good. So, like I said, I have a hard time dissing on this one. Now, the masterpiece here. Now, normally I like to talk about underdog records, things I've discovered and that I've never heard before and that are amazing, and they were not popular artists and things. But this time I'm talking about one that is, of course, popular. And it is my all-time favorite Beatles album. It is a masterpiece. My favorite songs are Oh Darling, I Want You, She's So Heavy, and the whole like little mini opera thing. I almost want to, I don't know, that's not even a good word for it, mini opera. But it's like, it's all a bunch of songs that feel like they're all together. Starting with You Never Give Me My Money, and ending with Carry That Weight in the end. I feel like it's almost like one song with a bunch of mini songs in it. It's what it kind of sounds like. Never Give My Money is awesome. I love She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. I really love Golden Slumbers. Man, I wish that song was longer. I feel like it's too short. I've listened to this album so many times, and I listened to it on record again just the other day because I finally acquired this record, and I tell you, it hit me like I heard it for the first time. It was unbelievable. Especially that song Golden Slumbers, that really hit me. Wow. So, yeah, I like other Beatles too, though. I need some of the other Beatles albums. I have some of them on CD, but this is still my favorite, and I've heard quite a few of them, if I haven't heard them all at one point or another. This last one you probably are not gonna understand. The record's still on my turntable. Let's see. This is something that a lot of people are not going to give 2 craps about, but I like this. This was a experimental album. I only paid $0.25 for it. I probably wouldn't have paid much more for it, since I didn't know what the heck it was. But listen to this was like taking you back to the time of like King Arthur's court and the Round Table, and around the time of like Monty Python and the Holy Grail, that whole era there, and a bunch of folk songs, Welsh songs, English, traditional English air. But if you like that kind of stuff, this was really good. It really felt like you were back in that time, in that era. And I like stuff like that. It's weird. I like weird stuff like this. And this was great. So I really can't say much more about it than that, because it's hard to explain this one. it feels like you're back in that time and era, and the songs are of that era. They also do a. I didn't know any of the songs except for Greensleeves. Oh, there was another song that almost sounded like something I've heard before, but I couldn't put a finger on it. Oh man, I wish I would have remembered that now and put a little more effort into remembering what that was. It's probably not that important anyway. Well, I guess this has been an oddball episode this time. So until next time.